Hey everyone! Today we're going to take a tour of one of the most amazing machines in the universe. And guess what? It's right inside your chest. We are diving deep into the internal structure of the human heart. So think about this. Your heart beats around 70 times every single minute of every single day. It's this constant rhythm that keeps us going. But have you ever really stopped to wonder what's actually going on in there? What's the internal blueprint that lets this little pump work so perfectly? Well, that is exactly what we're about to find out. So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the heart's basic shape and where it sits. Then we'll look at the special protective layer that wraps around it. After that, we're going inside for a tour of the four main chambers, check out the major blood vessels connected to it, and see how the whole system is controlled. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by connecting this theory to what you really need to know for your exams. Okay, so before we actually venture inside the heart, let's start with the basics. Where exactly is it, and what does it look like from the outside? I want you to picture the heart as a pear-shaped muscular organ. And for size, just make a fist. It's roughly the size of your own clenched fist. It's tucked away safely in your chest, nestled right there between your lungs, and it's got its own personal armor, your rib cage. These 4 points are fundamental, so definitely lock these in. All right, now let's peel back that first layer. You know, like any true VIP, the heart has its own personal bodyguard to keep it safe and sound. And this protective system has a name, the pericardium. It's a tough, two-layered sac that basically hugs the heart. In between those two layers, there's a special liquid called pericardial fluid. This fluid acts like a natural cushion, shielding the heart from bumps and shocks. And it also keeps things running smoothly by reducing friction with every single beat. Okay, we've made it past security. Now, let's get inside and explore the heart's main command centers. It's 4 very distinct chambers. And 4 is the magic number when it comes to the human heart. It's divided into 4 chambers. This is such a core concept, you've got to remember it. You've got 2 chambers up top and 2 chambers down below. This slide breaks it down perfectly. The 2 upper chambers, which we call the atria, are basically the receiving rooms. This is where blood enters the heart. The 2 lower chambers, the ventricles, are the real powerhouses. They're the ones that pump the blood out. Now take a close look at the diagram. You'll notice a huge difference in the walls. The atria have thin walls, but the ventricles, their walls are super thick and muscular. And this right here leads to a classic exam question. Why? Why is there such a big difference in wall thickness? Why do the ventricles need all that extra muscle compared to the atria? Just take a second and think about their jobs. One receives blood, and the other has to forcefully pump it out. And there's your answer. It's a perfect example of how structure is related to function. The ventricles have to generate a ton of pressure to push blood out, either just next door to the lungs or all the way to the tips of your toes. And that kind of power requires thick, strong, muscular walls. The atria, well, they just need to give the blood a little push down into the ventricles right below them. It's a much shorter, easier trip. So, now that we've toured the rooms, let's take a look at the superhighways that connect to them, the massive blood vessels that carry blood both to and from the heart. This table is an awesome reference, but let's actually trace the flow together. So, starting on the right side, you've got the 2 Vena Cava. They bring in all the deoxygenated blood from the body into the right atrium. From there, the right ventricle pumps it out through the pulmonary artery to the lungs. After it picks up fresh oxygen, the blood comes back through the pulmonary veins into the left atrium. And finally, the mighty aorta takes that fresh, oxygen-rich blood from the left ventricle and pumps it out to your entire body. Okay, with all this blood rushing around, you can imagine the heart needs a pretty sophisticated traffic control system, right? How does it keep the oxygen-rich blood and the oxygen-poor blood from mixing up? And how does it make sure everything flows in the right direction? Let's take a look at the internal controls. First up is the septum. This is a thick, muscular wall that runs right down the middle of the heart. It has one single, absolutely vital job to act as a barrier. It completely separates the oxygen-rich blood on the left side from the oxygen-poor blood on the right. Honestly, without the septum, our circulatory system would be a chaotic mess. Next up, we have the valves. You can think of them as the heart's perfect one-way doors. You've got the tricuspid and bicuspid valves sitting between the atria and the ventricles, and then you've got the pulmonary and aortic valves guarding the exits from the ventricles. As you can see, their job is simple but absolutely critical. They swing open to let blood pass through, and then they snap shut to make sure none of it flows backward. And last but not least, never forget this. The heart is a really hardworking muscle, and it needs its own fuel supply to keep going. That's the job of the coronary vessels. This is a whole network of arteries and veins that spreads across the surface of the heart, delivering all the oxygen and nutrients it needs to keep pumping 24/7. So we've covered a lot of theory. Now let's bridge that gap and connect all this knowledge to practice, both what you might see in a lab and what you absolutely, positively need to know for your exams. If you ever get the chance to see a real sheep or goat heart in a lab, which, by the way, is super similar to a human heart, it's an amazing experience. You can actually see all these structures for yourself. Try to find the 4 chambers, feel the difference in wall thickness between the atrium and ventricles, and find those big, sturdy blood vessels at the top. It really makes all the diagrams come to life. This chart really drives home that key concept we've been talking about. I mean, look at that. You can see the huge difference between the thin atrial walls and the much, much thicker ventricular walls. This visual shows you exactly why the ventricles are the undisputed powerhouses of the heart. Okay, so as you study for your exams, these are the 4 non-negotiable points from our tour today. Number 1, the heart has 4 chambers. 2, valves are one-way doors that prevent backflow. 3, ventricles have thicker walls because they are the powerful pumps. And 4, the septum is the wall that divides the right and left sides. If you master these 4 points, you've mastered the basics of the heart's internal structure. So to wrap all this up, just remember that your heart is so much more than just a muscle. It is an intricate, brilliant masterpiece of biological engineering that second by second keeps your entire body alive and running. Understanding its structure is really the first step to appreciating just how incredible it is.